My name's Jude, a vicar at a church in Liverpool, fairly young church, sort of average age, I guess, 23, something like that. Lots of young folks and folks sort of passionate about making a difference in the world. So Hopeful Influence, what is the book Hopeful Influence all about? So I'm exploring a theology of Christian leadership. I'm asking the question, what is God doing in and through our leadership? Wanting to start the leadership conversation there. As Christians, we're all called to help others move towards and into the kingdom of God. That when we help others see the kingdom, when we help others participate, join in with the coming kingdom, when we help others experience the kingdom of God in greater fullness, it's at that point that we're exercising Christian leadership. So it's these things that I explore within this motif of hopeful influence, really trying to equip Christians everywhere to understand the kind of role they have to play in God's renewal of the world and what that means for how they exercise Christian leadership. What led me to write it beyond just sort of practice and working with folks, I suppose, three things perhaps: passion, frustration, but also hope. Passion, in that I love to see people released into all that they can be, to see the church equipped to be the church. Frustration, because I think whilst there's lots of great sort of how-to leadership books out there, I don't think there's been enough contribution around the theology of leadership. What is God doing in and through our leadership? And how does that sort of begin our conversation on leadership, root our conversation adequately? And some of the confusion, I suppose, and the poor leadership that can arise when we don't have an adequate theology of leadership. So frustration too. Hope, certain that there is hope for leadership, believing that somewhere in a theology of the kingdom, a theology of Jesus' increasing rule and reign over all creation, somewhere in that theology of hope, we could find a paradigm, a motif for helping us think more adequately about leadership. So why is it important to think beyond just church leadership when we ask the leadership question? If we locate Christian leadership within this bigger movement of renewal that God is working in the world, if that's our starting point, our paradigm for understanding Christian leadership, then of course that spreads out into every sphere of life. Leaders in the church are Christian leaders, but in a sense every Christian person has the opportunity to exercise leadership, influence in the world, wherever they find themselves. So this is a book about equipping Christians everywhere to understand the kind of difference they can make, what it means to follow Jesus, how they get to join in with that. So where have I seen Christian leadership done well and where not so well? Well, firstly, Christian leadership is difficult. It's certainly clear that living this out, that helping others see the kingdom, experience it, join in with God's movement of renewal in the world is not a straightforward thing. So I'm not sure anybody gets it right all the time, or even most of the time. Beyond that, I've had the privilege of sort of serving under, I guess, in a church capacity, some inspiring leaders who've been able to really call others into God's renewal in the world in a very coherent way. I think whenever leaders sort of lose their raison d'etre, their sort of core calling, if you like, things can go wrong. What do I hope the impact of the book will be? Well, lots, I guess, lots. I've particularly got in mind, I suppose, church leaders who might read the book, church leaders who might see afresh the opportunity for the church, the gathered church, Christian community being a hotbed, a place where Christians are resourced to be people of influence in the world, but equally Christians everywhere. I think it's the idea that God would call every Christian person to exercise influence in the world, to help others see this bigger movement of the kingdom, I think is hugely exciting. And so, I hope that Christians everywhere could pick the book up and be equipped, excited, inspired by what they read and how it helps them make sense of the role they could play in the world.